It'll give me a chance to start there. Cool, alright. Hello everyone, welcome to Year Walk. I am ebloodycandy. I will be presenting Year Walk to you, which is a Swedish folklore, and the game is based off of multiple Swedish folklores. The game is weird in how it starts, because if you just click the mouse, the game just starts. So I was actually going to talk about the lore before we get started. So get started here in 3, 2, 1, and let's rock and roll. Alright, so right away here, the game itself is very straightforward. It's just a lot of movement and puzzles, so everything is very accurate in terms of just key buffering, and you're going to hear my mouse click quite a bit probably. So going over the lore quick, so year walking is a vision to foresee the future, and the rules for year walking are rigid, and if you don't adhere to them, could be dangerous or fatal. The practice is a mystery on how it even became to be a thing, but typically this practice was widespread in Sweden, and it went up until the 19th century. Yeah, and it was practiced for probably thousands of years. So year walking was different depending on the region in which you lived in. So the rules changed a little bit, but for the most part they were kind of the same. But year walking couldn't happen on any common day at all. It could only happen on special days throughout the year. May Day, Midsummer's Eve, Christmas Eve, or most commonly New Year's. The walker couldn't partake in any of the food at the festivities, and they couldn't talk to anybody. So typically, if they were a walker, they were going to lock themselves into a dark room to not see or hear or talk or eat or do anything for the entire day. If they managed to do this at the stroke of midnight, the walker had one last chance to cancel his plans to become a year walker and just stop doing it. Otherwise, if they continued to venture into the woods, there was no turning back at all. So with that said, I knew I was going to make this mistake too. I took a left instead of a right every time. So with that said, what the walker will do is that they'll have to go through various accounts of trials, so to speak, that pose physical, spiritual, and mental threats all around. Once they've made it to the church, they would have to walk around the church in a very particular pattern, and doing so will open up the church doors, accessing them to the church grim, whom we'll see later in this game, and then giving them the eye of creation, therefore seeing the future for themselves. So here we've just witnessed the Huldra. So Huldra is the guardian of the forest. And the problem with Huldra is she is not who she seems to be. Huldra depicts herself as a beautiful woman and tries to lure men into the woods to basically wed or seduce them, but in the end, if she doesn't choose to wed them, she'll kill them. Welcome to Scandinavian folklore. So, with that, what you see of her right now is not her true appearance. We will manage to see a little bit of her true appearance, but those that have seen her true appearance are very few and far, and those still living are even fewer and far. Her whole thing is melody, so this entire puzzle that we're about to go into is completely melodic. And if you're tone deaf like me, you have to write down notes in order to know how to figure the puzzle out. So typically the Huldra is depicted, or her home is depicted as this giant tree surrounded by little trees, but it's also said that the Huldra itself is the tree. Here we get a glimpse at our first puzzle coming up, which is the owls. So you're going to wonder to yourself, how do we know how to solve these puzzles? Because nowhere throughout this run you're going to see me figure out or see how to solve these puzzles. This puzzle right here in particular, if you saw the outhouse that we walked by a couple of times, and we'll walk by it one more time later on in the game, if you go inside of the outhouse, there is a hanging doll from a noose that you have to spin around, and once you've wound up the doll, it'll grant you the pattern for that puzzle. This puzzle here is all melody based. And since I don't have an ear for music at all, I have it written down to how many circles I need to go to and go to them. So this part here, if you're sensitive to jump scares, loud noises, flashy things, close your eyes, cover your ears. So here we're going to be presented with a key, and it's going to be blue. If you notice the blood in the snow, that's because a lot of times people will sacrifice a part of themselves to the Huldra, which is dangerous because sometimes her hunger can't be satisfied and will drain you completely of blood. So now you saw that key turned blue and turned into water. Now we have to go to the brook, and I'm not going to tell you the full lore of the brook horse and the Mylings. Just know that the brook horse exists because the brook horse drowned people who rode the back of it. Typically, the folklore of the brook horse was to keep children from playing by the water. The Mylings, to make it nicer, are dead baby spirits that haunt the woods. And we're bringing the Mylings to the brook horse to create a will-o-wisp to light our way moving forward. That is the nicer version of the Mylings and the brook horse. If you want to learn more about that lore, I would suggest to go look it up yourself. Another jump scare coming. Come here, kid. Okay, so you're all probably wondering what the heck is this game actually involved? Is it just puzzles? Is there a plot? There is a plot to this game. So at the very beginning of the game, you saw me talk to a beautiful woman in a windmill. Well, what happens is we have a protagonist named Daniel Svensson, and he's smitten by this woman in the windmill. However, she has promised herself to some other man. So Daniel Svensson wants to see into the future if he has a future with this woman. I'll save the rest to the end for you to figure out what happens. And then this last one here is actually in the encyclopedia. You'll notice that everything is bloody. And there we go. So the tale says for Mylings is that they make a bunch of horrid sounds in the woods, and then they are depicted as will-o-wisps. Keep strangers away. So that's why we're going to turn these will-o-wisps into a blue flame. And now we're going to take this blue flame into a cavern where we're going to encounter the Night Raven. And the Night Raven is basically famine. So if we go into here before we get the flame at all, we actually can't use this piece. Even if you know where the board is at, you can't use the ladder unless you have the flame. So this isn't really a puzzle, you just have to click on the bird a bunch of times, and it turns into a skeleton raven. And it said that if you look through the holes of the wings, you'd become ill. And in old folklore, Scandinavian folklore, if a raven landed on a house, a person in that house would fall ill and probably die within the year. And some of you may be thinking, like, why does all of this matter? some of this stuff actually matters in this game because that's how you have to understand how to solve some of these puzzles. So we get the key to go into the graveyard now. This next puzzle is tombstones that we have to lift up out of the ground. The way we figure this out is that there are markings in that dark cave that show you how many dots are underneath each icon. Or you can just know 4223. So here we're going to go into the church. So we're nearing the end of the actual year walk itself. So here we have to go left. Remember how I said at the very beginning of the year walk lore that you have to walk around the church in a very particular pattern. And the way you know that you've completed the circle is because the goat head pops up on the screen. So again, if you're sensitive to loud noises and flashy things, cover your eyes and ears. Okay, so this is Church Grim. So it is said that if you touch the heart, it'll open your eyes to creation. So here we gotta play a little Stone Cold Steve Austin to break the glass. So now we are in the eyes of creation, where we are going to do a plethora of different puzzles that show that we have completed the steps to complete our year walk. So the reason that the Church Grim is such a scary thing is because this is the worst puzzle in this game. It is because back in the medieval ages, typically you would sacrifice an animal and bury it underneath the floor of the church. Other times you would take out the hearts of criminals, put them into your sacrifice, and bury them as well too. So that's why it said if you can touch the heart, you'll open your eyes to creation. So a bit about this actual game. The game itself was made by Samigo, created and published by Samigo, whom is a Swedish game developer. Yearwalk was originally created for iOS. So this is actually a mobile game that was ported to Steam back in 2014, and it was also recoded for the Wii U eShop in 2015. Yearwalk actually started as a film script that Jonas Tarstead shared with the developer Simon Flesner, and then they joked around about how they can make this into a game. And here it is. Instead of it becoming a film, it is a video. So remember how I said that our protagonist Daniel Svensson was smitten on the woman in the windmill, and now we leaped 1 year into the future to see if we end up with her or not. And time is coming up. So that's Yearwalk. So at the end of it, Daniel Svensson killed the woman at the end of it all because of jealousy. This was one of two endings to the game. So this is the longer playthrough of the game itself, and at the end of the credits, it hints at you how to achieve the second ending, or the ultimate ending, which is about a 2-minute speedrun, and it shows you the ultimate of like what happened. Like it tells you, it's put into where like the person that you're as the researcher did their own year walk, and met this Daniel Svensson person, gave him the knife and the newspaper clippings saying that he was going to die on that year because of an execution that he did. So now, since you gave him the knife, he has the choice of either going through and killing her or killing himself to prevent everything from happening. Swedish folklore. But that's Yearwalk. I recommend checking it out. It's a really cool game. It's pretty cheap on Steam. A blind playthrough of the game is probably going to take you about 45 minutes to an hour. Or after. Yeah, there's no like quote-unquote new game or continue. It's walk again, question mark, and then if you press anything on the mouse, it just starts the game. That's why it was when we loaded in, like things were scrolling because I accidentally clicked the window. I had to finish yourself in this. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching. Watch rest of RGL's Feed the Kids marathon. This marathon has been amazing, and the cause of it is even more amazing. So, thank you all again.